Just imagine this. Your eldest brother awakens as an SSSS rank sword immortal. Your elder sister becomes an S rank saint, and when your turn finally comes, you receive the useless and most ridiculous class in the world, the class everyone calls thief. That was exactly what happened to the hero of our story, Ethan Carter. The Carter family turned out to be so heartless that they bluntly declared that a third child should never have been born into their family. That very night, an emergency family meeting was called because an enormous tide of monsters was about to invade from the northern border. According to ancient tradition, the only way to stop it was to sacrifice a living human. At that moment, every member of the family turned their eyes towards Ethan. They said that this worthless thief was the perfect person to offer as the sacrifice. They tied Ethan Carter up and threw him directly into the terrifying abyss where death was waiting for him. But those fools had absolutely no idea that the instant the Monster King at the bottom of the abyss touched Ethan, his thief system activated. The system informed him, the target possesses an SSSS rank Chaos Devouring talent. Do you wish to steal it? Without wasting even a second, Ethan replied, yes, steal it immediately. Let's go back a little and start from the beginning. When the eldest son of the Carter family awakened an SSSS rank talent, the entire family celebrated with great joy. His father proudly declared, from now on, no one will ever dare challenge the Carter family. When his daughter awakened an S rank talent, everyone showered her with endless praise. Meanwhile, Ethan silently thought to himself, I don't need an incredible rank, even an ordinary B rank or C rank would be enough. I just don't want to become a disgrace to my family. However, when Ethan Carter's name was finally called as the next candidate, the entire world was stunned. His awakened class was Thief. It was considered the lowest and most worthless class in existence. People immediately began mocking him. Is that even a real class? It's lower than the minimum standard. The head of the Carter family immediately ordered, everyone leave. A completely useless child has been born into the Carter family. At that exact moment, news arrived that the dangerous abyss on the northern border was becoming impossible to contain. Ancient records stated that every 100 years, only the sacrifice of a living human could calm the rage of the Monster King. Some people objected, but this is the same as taking an innocent person's life. But the family head calmly replied, if sacrificing one worthless thief can buy the Carter family 100 years of peace, then this is not a bad bargain. The others immediately agreed with him. Someone has to be sacrificed anyway. Besides, the third son is useless. As Ethan Carter was being thrown into the abyss, a little girl asked her mother, will Uncle ever come back? Her mother answered bitterly, he will never come back. Forget about him. The real twist of the story begins when Ethan Carter falls into the abyss. The moment he comes into contact with the Monster King, his thief system begins operating. The system detects that the target possesses an SSSS rank Chaos Devouring talent and asks, do you wish to steal it? Ethan shouts, yes, steal it. The theft succeeds. That god-level talent becomes Ethan Carter's. Not only that, because physical contact is maintained, the system detects another extraordinary ability, the SSSS rank Immortal Desolate Body. Ethan steals that as well. Afterward, he also takes possession of the Monster King's greatest ability, all-beast domination. The ancient monster had spent 10,000 years cultivating that god-level body. Now, that body had completely become Ethan Carter's servant. Ethan also gains a passive ability that allows him to sense danger before it arrives. When the system attempts to evaluate his new powers, the amount of data is so enormous that the system itself nearly crashes. It finally concludes that the thief class is unique throughout the world. It has no limits. It has no level cap. Ethan Carter laughs to himself. You all thought I was nothing more than a useless thief and threw me here to die like an animal. But unfortunately for you, I didn't die. Instead, I discovered something. Everything you possess, everything you're so proud of, I can steal every last bit of it. 3 days later, a grand celebration was scheduled to take place at the Carter family estate. The eldest son would receive the title of Protector, and the eldest daughter would become the new chief of the Saint Palace. At that moment, while a Carter family patrol team was inspecting the ruins near the abyss, a mysterious young man appeared before them. The patrol captain shouted, "Who are you? How dare you eavesdrop on us? State your name or you'll die." Ethan Carter simply smiled. His system immediately detected the captain's C-rank knife ability and stole it as well. The guard froze in shock. His power had suddenly disappeared. Trembling, he asked, "Has the Monster King escaped from the abyss?" Ethan calmly replied, "Yes, that problem is over. But not because of your sacrifice. It's over because the Monster King is already dead. And its new king is standing right in front of you."
The guards' eyes widened in disbelief. They finally realized that the person standing before them was none other than the Carter family's third son, Ethan Carter. Terrified, one of the guards hurriedly reached for his signal device to report the situation to the family head. Ethan calmly said, "Go ahead. Tell my father that the piece of trash he threw away to die is still alive." Then Ethan looked at them and asked, "You just said my family didn't even build a memorial for me, so tell me, what story did they tell the outside world?" The frightened guard answered, "The Carter family spread the story that the third son, Ethan Carter, voluntarily stepped forward and sacrificed himself after seeing the crisis at the northern border, so that the entire family could remain safe. They declared him a great hero of the Carter family. The family head personally ordered a 3-foot-tall black monument with golden letters to be placed in front of the main gate. At the end of the inscription it says, 'My son Ethan Carter smiled as he gave his life. The Carter family is proud of him.'" A frightening smile slowly appeared on Ethan's face, because now he was completely prepared to settle every single score with his so-called family. Hearing the guard's words, Ethan trembled with anger. "Voluntarily sacrificed myself? I was screaming, I was begging. They tied up all 4 of my limbs and dragged me onto the sacrifice altar, and they called that a voluntary sacrifice? The truth is, my own elder brother sealed all of my meridians and acupuncture points so I couldn't even move. My own elder sister personally handed me a cup of poison so I wouldn't even be able to scream, and they call that embracing death with a smile?" He laughed coldly, and the best part? After murdering his own son, my own father built a magnificent memorial stone so history would remember him forever. How wonderful. Ethan looked at the trembling soldiers. "That memorial stone is standing right in front of the main gate, isn't it? The black stone with shining golden letters?" The soldier nodded nervously. "Yes, that's the one." Ethan chuckled coldly. "My father's handwriting has always been beautiful. I still remember that when I was little, I used to imitate his handwriting. He would always tell me, 'Your writing has no strength, your letters have no character.' But look at him now. After killing his own son, he wrote such magnificent words on that stone praising our family's courage and sacrifice." Ethan then looked toward the 3 soldiers. One of them was named Ryan Cole. He calmly said, "The 3 of you have 2 choices. The first choice, go back to the Carter family right now and tell them Ethan Carter is still alive. Then watch what they do to you. The second choice, stay here beside this abyss for the next 3 days. After 3 days, come with me to the Carter family's grand celebration. See with your own eyes what happens to the memorial stone my father built." Ryan Cole and the other 2 guards chose the second option without even thinking. They knew very well that Ethan Carter had already become something beyond a human, a god-level monster. Just then, Ethan's system activated again. "Target detected. Would you like to steal fragments of the target's memories?" Ethan answered, "Yes, steal them." The theft succeeded. Every memory of meeting Ethan Carter vanished from the guards' minds. They stared at each other in confusion. "Why are we here? It feels like someone tore a page out of our memories. Maybe we've already finished patrolling the abyss. Where's our signal gun? If everything's normal, let's head back. Otherwise, we'll be late for dinner. Come on, let's go." After the guards left, Ethan quietly thought to himself, "If my old father ever discovers that I'm still alive, his first reaction will be to eliminate me for once and for all, but I won't give him that chance." 3 days later, the Carter family's greatest celebration in 100 years would begin. It would be a celebration where the entire world rejoiced over the death of a supposedly worthless child. Everyone would say, "This sacrifice has brought us 100 years of peace." That day, Lucas Carter would become the protector, his elder sister would become the chief of St. Palace, and Victor Carter would stand before the world as a great hero. At that moment, Ethan's system displayed another notification. 47 kilometers north of your current location, multiple stealable targets have been detected. SS rank Sword Immortal talent, S rank Saint Light talent, Core Carter family contract. Would you like to proceed? A deep and frightening smile appeared on Ethan's face. 3 days? Perfect. I was planning to go home and visit everyone anyway. The story then shifted to the Carter family estate. Preparations for the centennial celebration were reaching their peak. The estate manager ran around frantically directing everyone. He shouted at the servants, "Move that red cloth 3 inches to the left. Hurry!" Soon afterwards, the manager entered the chief's room, where Victor Carter and the second elder were seated. The manager respectfully said, "Chief, the entire schedule for the celebration has been completed. Please take a look." The second elder added, "Chief, I improved the draft speech you gave me. Please see if any wording needs to be changed." The draft read, "Although the Carter family's third son, Ethan Carter, possessed only a weak and ordinary talent, his loyalty and sacrifice were unmatched." Victor Carter read the draft. Then he spoke coldly. "Change one sentence immediately." The second elder was confused. "Which sentence, Chief?" Victor replied, "The line that says his talent was weak. Remove it." The second elder asked, "Then what should it say instead?" Victor answered, "Write, his talent was profound and extraordinary." The second elder nodded. "Understood." Then he asked another question. "Chief, should we invite the third madam, Ethan Carter's biological mother, to say a few words during the ceremony? When a mother cries for her dead son, the audience will be deeply moved. Our family's reputation will become even greater." The manager spoke again. "Chief, the position beside the memorial stone has already been arranged. Your eldest son and eldest daughter will stand in the center. The heads of the major families and our guards will stand on both sides. The audience area can accommodate 400 guests. We've also cleared the entire open space in front of the stage." The second elder added, "We've repainted the golden lettering on the memorial stone so that even from 50 yards away, everyone will be able to clearly see the glorious words, Carter family." The room that had once belonged to Ethan Carter had been completely emptied within a single morning. It was converted into a guest room for visiting dignitaries. It was heartbreaking. Not even 3 days had passed since the child's death, yet every trace of his existence was being erased from the house as though he had never lived there at all. Even the beautiful wallpaper and paintings his mother had personally decorated his room with had been ripped off the walls and thrown away. The servants quietly whispered among themselves. Young Master Ethan's room had even fewer belongings than the servants' quarters. Another servant replied, "Now that he's gone, what's the point of talking about it?" At that moment, one of the Carter family's senior servants approached Ethan's mother. He respectfully said, "Third madam, according to the ceremony arrangements, you'll be seated in the third row with the family members. The chief's order is that because your health hasn't been good recently, there will be no need for you to go on stage." Ethan Carter's mother had already been completely broken by the grief of losing her son. With tears streaming down her face, she looked toward the memorial stone. Then she quietly asked, "Those words carved onto that stone, his father wrote them himself, didn't he?" The servant nodded. "Yes, that is the chief's own handwriting." She cried even harder. "When my son was little, his father never even had enough time to write his name in the school register himself. The chief personally signed the names of the eldest son and eldest daughter, but for my third son, I was the one who signed his name." She lowered her head, and she softly continued, "Do you remember that morning when my son was taken away? The medicine mixed into the soup, our family doctor gave it to me. The doctor said it would prevent him from feeling pain. I was so terrified that I mixed 3 times the recommended amount into the soup because I knew how deep that abyss was. If my child regained consciousness halfway down and realized he was falling into that endless darkness, he would have been so frightened." At that moment, a member of the ceremony planning team walked over. He asked, "Has the first day's schedule been finalized? Add another scene. The mother should tearfully say goodbye to her son." Another organizer frowned, but that never happened in the real story. The first man immediately replied, "The chief's orders are very clear. This performance must move the audience emotionally.
That scene has to be included. Standing nearby, however, one experienced guard quietly thought to himself, "Back then, I didn't think much about everything that happened, but now, every time I look at those 4 words, the glorious Carter family, something feels wrong. The air itself feels strange. It's the same silence, the silence that comes just before an enormous storm arrives." Meanwhile, people walking through the streets continued gossiping. That 3rd son of the Carter family always kept to himself in the back courtyard, but on the day of the awakening, the moment he learned the country was in danger, he jumped straight into the abyss without hesitating. Another person corrected him. "Don't call it jumping, it was a sacrifice. He walked into that hell with his own 2 feet. Ordinary people like us could never have that kind of courage." Someone else added, "I even heard that before leaving, young Master Ethan turned toward his father and gave him a respectful bow. There wasn't a single tear in his eyes. He walked forward with a smile." Another man standing nearby sneered. "What's the point of having that kind of attitude? At the end of the day, he was still just an E-rank loser. His older brother and older sister are top-class warriors. One is A-rank, the other is S-rank. You can't send the family's true pillars to their deaths. What could an E-rank piece of trash have accomplished by staying alive? At least by dying, he brought honor to the family. If you were the head of the Carter family, you would have made exactly the same decision." Another person nodded. "No matter what, that memorial stone gave him far more honor than someone like him ever deserved." At that very moment, Ethan Carter happened to be walking through that same marketplace. Beside him walked the terrifying Monster King. Now, however, it appeared no different from an ordinary pet. A little boy ran over. He gently touched the creature, then he smiled. "Big brother, your puppy is so cold." Ethan smiled back. "Yeah, he gets hot very easily." The child believed him completely, but Ethan's thoughts were elsewhere. The people in the market continued chatting. The Carter family really spent a fortune this time to make themselves famous. One worthless E-rank kid in exchange for 100 years of peace. That's an incredible bargain. Now, only 1 day remained for the grand celebration. 40 chefs were hired. They worked day and night preparing food. The eldest son would officially receive the title of protector. The eldest daughter would assume her new position. This year's ceremony would be unlike anything seen before. The leaders of the 3 greatest powers on the northern border would all be attending. The Sword Palace Master, the Lord of St. Palace, and even the Master of Monster Mountain Villa along with their entire entourage. They were also bringing renowned researchers and powerful awakeners. Using the celebration as an excuse, they intended to thoroughly investigate the mysterious abyss. Under normal circumstances, approaching the abyss was considered a serious border violation, but thanks to this ceremony, they finally obtained a legal opportunity to inspect it. The people of Monster Mountain Villa have spent generations researching mutant beasts. No one understands that abyss better than they do. Just then, Ethan Carter noticed a father kneeling before a doctor, desperately begging, "Doctor, please, there has to be some way to save my child." "He doesn't have much time left," the doctor helplessly shook his head. "It's not that I don't want to treat him, I simply don't have the medicine anymore. The antidote for beast poison requires mosquito grass as its main ingredient, but last month the Carter family's men confiscated every bit of it in this entire town. They said it would all be used for the celebration." The father cried. "Isn't there any other way?" The doctor answered. "About 40 miles from here there's a town called Stone Ridge. You might be able to find some there." The father's face turned pale. 40 miles? How could my son survive that long with such a high fever? Even if I ran there and came back as fast as I could, it would already be tomorrow afternoon. By then, my son would already be dead. With tears in his eyes, he continued, "My boy is only 8 years old. I begged the Carter family's officers. My son has been poisoned. Please, just give me a little of that grass." But they refused. They said the Carter family's celebration was far more important. The life of an ordinary hunter's child wasn't worth delaying such an important event. Hearing those words, Ethan's blood began to boil. He stepped forward. "Let me see him." The doctor looked at him in surprise. "Are you a physician?" Without saying a word, he placed his hand on the child's body. Using his thief ability, he directly stole the beast poison from the child's body. The doctor immediately checked the child's pulse. His eyes widened in absolute disbelief. He shouted, "How is this possible? Removing beast poison without using an antidote is completely impossible. But the poison is completely gone." Ethan calmly replied, "He just needs rest now. Give him sweet water and porridge for the next 2 days. He'll be back on his feet." The grateful father knelt before Ethan with tears in his eyes. "My savior, please tell me your name." Ethan turned to leave. Without looking back, he said, "There's no need to remember my name." At that moment, the little boy regained consciousness. He softly said, "Dad, I'm hungry." The doctor was still frozen in shock. Removing poison simply by touching someone? What kind of miracle was that? Meanwhile, at the Carter family's training grounds, Lucas Carter was demonstrating his swordsmanship. The spectators couldn't stop praising him. An A-rank warrior truly is incredible. Among the younger generation of the northern border, no one can stand against his sword. Just then, Lucas suddenly lost his focus. He turned to one of his servants. "What is it?" The servant respectfully answered, "Nothing serious, young master. The patrol team that inspected the abyss has returned. Ryan Cole was leading them. He reported that everything there is completely normal. He wished to speak with you." Lucas arrogantly replied, "There's no need. The chief will arrive early for tonight's final rehearsal anyway. Go prepare my new ceremonial outfit." The servant bowed, "Yes, young master." As the servant turned to leave, Lucas suddenly stopped him. "Wait, don't tell anyone about the strange dream I've been having." The servant looked puzzled. "What kind of dream, young master?" Lucas answered with a troubled expression. "Over the past 5 days, I've had exactly the same dream 3 times. In the dream, it's the day before the celebration. We're all saying goodbye to Ethan beside the abyss. According to the script, I place my hand on Ethan's shoulder and gently tell him, 'Little brother, the entire Carter family will always remember your sacrifice.'" Lucas paused. His face became uneasy. But the way Ethan looked at me was terrifying. There was something in his eyes, as though he'd completely given up on me and on this entire family. He lowered his head. It was the same look he gave me years ago when I was 12, after I completely ignored him. Now time has come full circle. In that dream, he doesn't even want to look at me anymore. Lucas took a deep breath. Then he reassured himself. "No, I am the protector of this family. Sacrificing one useless younger brother for the good of everyone isn't wrong." What Lucas didn't know was that his pride would soon be shattered because Ethan Carter's return was now only moments away. Meanwhile, preparations inside the Carter family estate had entered their final stage. Servants rushed in every direction. A decorator asked, "The flower stands around the altar have all been set up. Should we start arranging the banquet tables?" Another servant replied, "The VIP guests arriving this afternoon will be first escorted to the guest house for their medicinal baths." At that moment, Victor Carter suddenly remembered something. There wasn't a single meaningful belonging of Ethan's left to place beside the memorial altar. The servants whispered among themselves. His room was completely emptied. Everything he owned, including all of his clothes, was burned to ashes. Just then, the head chef, Luna, spoke up. "I still have one of Ethan's old sets of torn clothes and shoes. I was saving them to use as kindling for the stove." The manager immediately ordered, "Go get them, clean them up, and place them neatly beside the memorial altar."
At that moment, Ethan Carter's young niece came running toward her aunt. Ethan's second elder sister, the little girl, innocently asked, "Auntie, why is Uncle Number 3's room empty? The door is open, but there's nothing left inside. Where did he go?" His second sister avoided the child's eyes. She quietly lied. "Your Uncle Number 3 went somewhere very far away." The little girl asked again, "Then when will he come back?" "Last time, he promised he would teach me how to make a paper bird whose wings could really move. He only taught me half of it, and then he suddenly disappeared." His aunt let out a quiet sigh. "Lily, I don't know how to make that paper bird. And from now on, there won't be anyone left in this world who can teach you." The little girl burst into tears. "You're lying. Uncle told me himself that whenever he made a promise, he always kept it." Just then, someone shouted from the main hall, "Second madam, the chief is asking for you. The guest list and the medical bath arrangements need to be finalized." She quietly wiped away her tears. "I'm coming." In reality, the people from Monster Will Villa had arrived at the Carter family estate a full 12 hours ahead of schedule. Meanwhile, a short distance from the mansion, Ethan Carter was testing his newly acquired abilities. From the Monster King, he had inherited a passive ability based on bat-like sound waves. At the moment, its effective range was only 100 meters. That was nowhere near enough. Ethan concentrated all of his strength. He activated the sound wave and pushed it farther outward. Suddenly, his entire perception changed. He detected 11 large vehicles approaching from the west. Inside them were 2 extremely powerful warriors responsible for protecting the base. He also discovered that guards stationed in the east, west, and south changed shifts at fixed times. Even their patrol routes were completely predictable. Ethan smiled. The strongest-looking security is usually hiding the biggest weakness. Those fools believed that killing one useless boy was enough to secure the entire northern border. He maintained the ability across a radius of nearly 5 kilometers. In the time it took for a candle to burn for a moment, roughly 10% of his energy had already been consumed. He immediately understood that he still needed far more practice and far more energy. At that moment, a deep, heavy voice echoed from the forest behind him. "Young man, the sound you're releasing can be heard within a radius of 10 miles. Ethan turned around. Standing there was a senior elder of Monster Villain Villa. His name was Marcus Blackwood. Marcus slowly walked forward. "May we have a little conversation?" "Of course. If you don't wish to talk, that's perfectly fine. I only wanted to ask you one small question." He glanced toward the terrifying 6-legged beast standing behind Ethan. "That monster following you, did it come out of the abyss on the northern border?" Ethan showed no fear whatsoever. He answered calmly. "A distinguished elder from Monster Villain Villa comes all the way to this deserted mountain to chat with a stranger? You certainly have unusual hobbies." Marcus laughed. "Whenever you release your sound wave, every monster tamer within 10 miles can sense it. But I noticed something. You're not a monster tamer, because your sound carries no intention of taming or controlling monsters." He stared directly into Ethan's eyes. "Instead, it feels as though you tore the soul and abilities directly out of a living monster and absorbed them into yourself." Marcus continued. "We're all heading toward that abyss anyway. For the past few days, every wild beast there has become unbelievably quiet. That silence, it's terrifying. It's as though every monster there has suddenly accepted a new king." Ethan gave no reply. He simply walked away. When he entered the city marketplace, he noticed brand new Carter family banners hanging everywhere. It was obvious they had all been rushed into production for the celebration. Soon, Ethan stopped in front of a large auction house. 3 admission passes were required to enter. The receptionist said, ordinary customers must deposit 30 gold coins as security. Ethan paid the money and walked inside. Standing on the stage, the auctioneer loudly announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, today's special auction is not only being held to celebrate the Carter family's glorious centennial, but also to honor the noble sacrifice of the Carter family's 3rd young master, Ethan Carter. That great hero offered his own flesh and blood to permanently calm the Monster King within the abyss. Because of him, we all are able to live in peace today." The auctioneer continued, "Now, the most valuable item of today's auction is about to appear." An ancient fragment of a monster's body was brought on stage. It was introduced as a piece of the Immortal Desolate Body. Ethan looked at it and quietly laughed to himself. "If I wanted, the complete Immortal Desolate armor covering my own body is thicker, brighter, and completely genuine. The tiny fragment they're displaying doesn't even compare." The auctioneer announced, "The starting price is 3,000 gold coins." Inside Ethan's own body, there were more than 400 complete armor plates, all stolen directly from the Monster King. Bidding immediately began. 3,000, 4,000, then another voice shouted, 5,000. The auctioneer excitedly announced, "Seat number 3 has offered 5,000 gold coins." Ethan turned toward the bidder. It was none other than Marcus Blackwood. Greed and obsession filled Marcus's eyes as he stared at the ancient relic. A faint smile appeared on Ethan's face, because he finally understood that when he revealed his true power during the Carter family celebration, the ground beneath them would completely collapse. So, he quietly waited. Only 1 day remained before every debt would finally be repaid. Inside the auction house, the atmosphere had become completely heated. The auctioneer shouted at the top of his lungs, 5,000 once, 5,000 twice. Suddenly, a deep voice echoed through the crowd. 6,000 gold coins. Standing quietly in the corner, Ethan Carter watched everything with a bitter smile. He thought to himself, how ironic. The so-called peace I obtained by sacrificing my life is now being openly sold in the marketplace with a price tag attached to my death. Marcus Blackwood's eyes suddenly settled on Ethan. He was deeply startled. He thought, the ancient monster aura coming from this young man's body is several times stronger and far more terrifying than the fragment of the Monster King's armor displayed on the stage. This wasn't ordinary observation. It was a special sensing ability unique to the bloodline of Monster Mountain Villa. Their lineage possessed the instinctive perception of reptiles and ancient beasts. At that moment, a representative from St. Palace stepped forward. He announced, on behalf of St. Palace, this auction is hereby suspended. According to the strict regulations of the North Birder, any S-rank material obtained from the Abyss must first belong to the family responsible for guarding the border. That family is the Carter family. They have the legal right to take possession of this item first. I am only acting in accordance with the law. This matter is extremely important. Therefore, this valuable relic will be taken directly to the main palace for a complete inspection. If everything is found to be in order, it will be returned afterward. At that moment, Marcus had already realized something. The power coming from Ethan's body was at least 10 times more dangerous than the fragment displayed on the stage. After Ethan left the auction house, Marcus quietly followed him. Eventually, they stopped beside a kebab stall. Without turning around, Ethan said, "What is it? Why are you following me?" Marcus asked, "During the auction, you never placed a single bid. You silently watched someone else raise the price to 8,000 gold coins without saying a single word. It's not because you lacked money, nor because you couldn't afford it. The real reason is that you already knew that fragment was worthless." The young elder was visibly surprised. He asked, "Did you follow me all this way just to say that?" Ethan finally turned around. He calmly replied, "You also noticed something strange about that fragment, didn't you? A shield or a piece of skin that has been separated from its original body for 100 years should have completely lost all of its energy long ago. Yet the fragment displayed on the stage was still radiating power. That's only possible if someone artificially recharged it using fake energy." Marcus was completely stunned. In a trembling voice, he asked, "How did you figure that out? I had the exact same suspicion. Tell me honestly, who exactly are you?" Ethan stared directly into his eyes. Then he gave him a cold warning. "Remember my words carefully. 3 days from now, during the Carter family's grand ceremony, every member of Monster Mountain Villa should stay as far away from the stage as possible. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee your lives." After saying those words, Ethan disappeared. The story now shifted directly to the day of the grand ceremony, 3 days later. A magnificent stage had been built in front of the Carter family's ancestral temple. Victor Carter stood at the center, holding a ceremonial offering tray. Looking towards the sky, he proudly declared, "Great ancestors, bear witness to our sacrifice today. The Carter family has permanently calmed the terrifying abyss of the North Birder by offering the body and blood of our third son, Ethan Carter. Our third son was truly fortunate to be granted the honor of giving his life for the Carter family. When he left this world, he carried no regret." Victor then looked towards his eldest son, Lucas Carter. He said,
Until you fully understand the value of your name and the worth of the blood flowing through your veins, you must continue protecting the honor of this family. Today's ceremony will forever be written in letters of gold throughout our family's history. May heaven continue blessing the Carter family. Through our ancient traditions and through sacrifice, we have once again sealed the Monster King beneath the abyss inside an even stronger prison. For the next 100 years, no one will dare threaten the Northbirder again. Only peace shall remain. Victor raised his voice even higher. Before the entire crowd, he announced, "Therefore, today, I officially bestow upon my eldest son, Lucas Carter, the glorious title Protector of the North." At exactly that moment, a lone figure stepped onto the stage. A slow, cold, and terrifying voice echoed throughout the entire square. "Father, big brother, your filthy little performance and this magnificent celebration have already begun. But why didn't you wait for your beloved third son? After all, how could this wonderful spectacle celebrating my death possibly be complete without me?" The instant that voice rang across the square, the color completely drained from the faces of Victor Carter and Lucas Carter. The grand celebration of the Carter family is in full swing. Happiness fills every corner as the head of the Carter family proudly says that thanks to the blessings of our ancestors and our ancient mystical techniques, we have once again sealed the Demon King. Now our land will remain completely peaceful for the next 100 years. Everyone applauds loudly. But just then, a deep voice echoes through the gathering. "So after Father risked his life to buy this peace, why wasn't I invited to this celebration?" Everyone turns toward the voice, and standing there is Ethan Carter. The ground seems to disappear beneath everyone's feet the moment they see him. His eldest brother shouts, "Ethan Carter, you were dead, weren't you?" The guests around them begin whispering amongst themselves, "Isn't that the same boy who was offered as a sacrifice?" At that moment, Ethan Carter's third brother steps forward and says, "Little brother, you're alive. That's wonderful. You have no idea what this family went through after you were gone. Elder brother simply didn't have the courage to save you back then." Ethan Carter looks at his elder brother with a cold smile and says, "Elder brother, 6 months ago, the last time you placed your hand on my shoulder, the sword energy flowing from your fingers permanently sealed the 3 main meridians in my body. Those 3 meridians were Tianju, Ju-Kei, and Ki-Men. Then you left me in that condition while laughing and saying, 'Little brother, you're the true hero of our family.'" The moment he hears this, the head of the Carter family, Victor Carter, turns red with anger and says, "Ethan Carter, now that you have returned alive, this family will accept you. But today, many distinguished guests have gathered here. You have brought these wild beasts onto our ancestors' sacred land. Do you want to make the Carter family a laughingstock in front of the entire world?" Ethan Carter laughs and replies, "A laughingstock, father? A father tied up his own son with ropes and threw him into a cage full of starving demons. Wasn't that a spectacle? I'm sure the official records say that your son volunteered to sacrifice himself." At that moment, his eldest brother angrily draws his sword and shouts, "You've talked enough nonsense. Now you'll die by my hands." He attacks with his most dangerous technique, humming sword slash. Ethan Carter stands there calmly and says, "Elder brother, is that all you've got? Why are you in such a hurry? The celebration has only just begun. Today, one course after another will be served." After that, Ethan Carter turns toward his second sister. He takes out a bottle of wine from his pocket and says, "Sister, I've brought back the wine you gave me 6 months ago." His sister's face turns pale. She stammers, "Little brother, you're alive. That's wonderful." But Ethan Carter looks straight into her eyes and says, "6 months ago, when you handed me this bottle, you said, 'Drink this, little brother. After you drink it and fall into that abyss, you won't feel any pain.' This is poison. The future leader of the sacred institution poisoned her own biological brother, and all of you claimed that he went there willingly. What kind of act is this? 6 months have passed, yet the stench of your conspiracy hasn't disappeared." Her sister begins crying and kneels before her master, saying, "I didn't mean it that way. I only wanted to lessen my brother's suffering. That terrifying abyss was filled with darkness and ferocious beasts. If they chewed him alive, he would have suffered terribly. So I thought that if he drank this poison, he would die quickly and peacefully." Ethan Carter looks at her and says, "Your entire body burns like it's on fire from the inside out, and you call that a peaceful death?" At that moment, Victor Carter steps in and says, "Ethan Carter, I was the one who told her to give you that wine. Your sister is not at fault. If you want to hate someone, hate me. That decision was necessary to save the Carter family and the entire northern region. You were an ordinary, low-ranked weakling. You were useless anyway. If sacrificing the life of one worthless person could bring 100 years of peace to millions of people, then it was absolutely the right decision." Some of the guests sitting there begin murmuring, "What he's saying is true. It's been 6 months since he left, and peace has remained ever since." Ethan Carter smiles and says, "So all of you believe that it was the right decision. Then what I'm about to do today is also absolutely the right thing. Sister, you said this wine reduces pain, didn't you? I trust your words. Here, take a sip and tell me whether it's really as pleasant as you claimed." Just then, a little child comes running over and says, "Uncle, you're back. Mom kept saying that you would never come back." Ethan Carter looks at the child, then looks back at his sister, who is trembling in fear. His elder brother assumes that Ethan has gone soft and tries to attack once again, but Ethan Carter walks right past him. Suddenly, a mystical voice echoes inside Ethan Carter's mind. "Stealing ability activated. You have stolen your opponent's double S-scaled talent, Sword Immortality, the highest swordsmanship talent." In the blink of an eye, the sword slips out of his elder brother's hand and all of his powers disappear. He screams, "Where did my powers go?" Ethan Carter says, "Elder brother, didn't you say that a hero should always have a sword? Now that you've lost your talent, what exactly are you going to hold?" Just then, Ethan Carter walks toward his sister. His eyes fall upon an old wooden toy. He says, "Sister, do you remember when you made this toy? I spent the entire day decorating it, and I even injured my hand while doing it. Back then, you said that everything your little brother made looked adorable. You always kept this toy at the very front of your table. But this morning, you hid it so that none of the guests would ask about the brother you abandoned to die." At that moment, the mystical voice echoes once again. "You have stolen the S-class talent, Holy Light." The moment this power is stolen, his sister's body suddenly begins to age. The youth of her 20-year-old body disappears and wrinkles spread across her face. In reality, that mystical power had been keeping her age frozen. The moment it disappeared, she was forced to repay the debt of time. Ethan Carter says, "Sister, didn't you say there was no pain there? Now, instead of me, you can experience it yourself." The elders of the sacred institution shout, "Young man, you've stolen our institution's inheritance." Ethan Carter turns around and replies, "This holy light was granted to her by the heavens. It never belonged to your institution. I stole her personal power. It has nothing to do with you." Just then, an elderly woman steps forward from the crowd. She is none other than Ethan Carter's biological mother. Crying, she says, "My son, you've become so weak." Ethan Carter looks toward his father and says, "Father, when I entered this house, I touched the mystical formation of the 7 meridians in the basement. Can you guess? I stole that too." The members of the Carter family shout, "Stop him! He has stolen the power of our ancestors." But no one can stand against Ethan Carter. Ethan Carter looks toward his mother and says, "Mother, when I came back, you made me longevity noodles. I know you mixed sleeping medicine into them. Did you do that of your own free will, or were you forced by someone?" His mother cries and says, "Your father gave me that powder and left it on the kitchen table. Whether I mixed it into your food or not was entirely my decision. No one forced my hand." I cried the entire night thinking that I shouldn't do it. The next morning when I entered your room, you were sleeping and your fingers were curled exactly the way they were when you were 3 years old. Looking at you, I thought that it would be very dark beneath that deep abyss. It would be freezing cold. When you fell down there and screamed, there would be no mother to hear your voice, so I thought it would be better to send you there unconscious rather than awake, so that you wouldn't be afraid. Tears fill Ethan Carter's eyes. He says, "Mother, you mixed the medicine into that meal and quietly sat there watching me eat it. When I took the last bite, you smiled. Your eyes were red, yet you still smiled. That smile hurt more than all of the fear of every demon inside that dark abyss." Victor Carter angrily shouts, "Enough, Ethan Carter. If you want revenge, take it out on me. Your mother is just an ordinary person. She doesn't possess any mystical powers. She was simply forced to obey the family's decision. Stop troubling her." Ethan Carter turns toward his father and says, "Forced? The night that decision was made, I was standing outside the door. There were 47 members of the family inside that room. Out of 46, 45 voted in favor of throwing me into the abyss. There was only one person who stood up and said that it was wrong. Then you told that person that if they caused any more trouble, they would be thrown down with this worthless boy as well. You protected the powers of your eldest son and your daughter, but today you failed to protect your duty as a father." At that moment, the mystical voice echoes once again. "You have stolen the A-class talent, humming sword formation." Ethan Carter says, "Father, I don't hate you, but I will never forgive you. The 300-year history of this family and all of its mystical powers now belong to me. I stole elder brother's talent. I stole my sister's holy light. I stole father's technique, but even that is still not enough. I will erase the very foundation of the Carter family's mystical bloodline." Just then, the oldest elder of the family, the grandfather, steps forward and says, "Ethan Carter, I raised you with my own hands. When you were born, you didn't cry. The midwife had to sop you 3 times before your voice finally came out. Your father said that this child would grow up to become incredibly strong, and today I have stepped forward to put an end to that very strength." He unleashes his most dangerous mystical technique. But the moment the attack reaches Ethan Carter, the mystical voice echoes, "Stealing ability successful. You have stolen the true foundation of the Carter family's bloodline, the mystical seed."
Ethan Carter says in a cold voice, "From this day onward, no one in the Carter family will ever be born with mystical powers again." At that moment, an inspector steps forward from the crowd. He looks at Ethan Carter and says, "Ethan Carter, we have a few questions for you. This is not a threat, it is a warning." The inspector activates his mystical eye, God Eye, to examine Ethan Carter. He discovers that the boy who had been completely worthless 6 months ago has now become so powerful that even estimating his strength is impossible. The inspector says, "The government has no interest in your family's internal feud. Whoever you choose to point your sword at is your personal matter, but the power inside your body, known as the Chaos Devourer, the power that devours everything, is no ordinary ability. We must place a mystical mark on you so that we can monitor your actions. That is because this power continues to grow more dangerous with time." 100 years ago, history recorded a similar case. Ethan Carter asks, "What happened 100 years ago?" The inspector answers seriously, "100 years ago, there was another boy who possessed a stealing ability exactly like yours. Even his code name was Thief. He stole the talents of the strongest warriors from 3 great nations. He erased the mystical seals of 2 ancient ruins. He absorbed the bloodline power of an entire race. At that time, the world's 5 greatest powers joined forces and hunted him for 3 years. During that war, 270 million people lost their lives. Only then were we finally able to kill him. Or rather, we only believe that he died." Ethan Carter says, "So you're telling me all this to scare me?" The inspector replies, "No, this is reality. The government will not interfere in your personal affairs, but anyone who possesses the power that devours everything is placed at the very top of our most dangerous list. One day you'll realize that you can steal far more than just mystical powers." He hands Ethan Carter a piece of paper and says, "An address is written on this paper. If you want to know who that thief from 100 years ago really was and how he died, then go there and see for yourself." Just then, the city's powerful merchant, Ryan Cole, arrives with his army and grabs Victor Carter by the collar. He shouts, "Victor Carter, get out here. 6 months ago, when you held that grand celebration and claimed that you had defeated the demons using your ancient techniques, I gifted you 3,000 kilograms of precious iron and 80 of the finest horses. But today, the entire city has learned the truth. Those demons were not defeated by your magic. They were eliminated single-handedly by your 3rd son, the very one you sacrificed. You lied to all of us and collected those gifts through deception. This is outright fraud. Return every single one of our gifts immediately." The Carter family had now been completely ruined. Their powers were gone. Their reputation in society had been destroyed, and now even the government had turned against them. After the fall of the Carter family, some people began talking amongst themselves.
One man says if this evidence gets leaked, the entire northern region will learn the truth about how the Carter family's 100 years of peace and prosperity were actually bought through such a disgusting deal and deception. But another man says there is no need for us to keep this evidence. The inspector from the government's secret agency, TN, deliberately left this evidence for us so that we would understand that the government itself is thoroughly investigating this matter. He is simply giving us a warning to stay away from this case and not interfere. Just then, the inspector asks, "What are Ethan Carter's plans now? Where is he planning to go next?" Another officer replies, "He has already headed south. Should we follow him?" The first officer says, "The Demon's Nest has finally become peaceful, but our troubles are far from over. Our entire region will now have to establish ties with this new and most powerful leader. At the same time, we must see just how far he can go with this overwhelming power." Meanwhile, Ethan Carter arrives at a secret location. A man says to him, "Please take a seat in the 3rd row." Ethan Carter replies, "Yes, thank you for reminding me in advance. Sitting farther away is much safer." Just then, someone notices the special metal plate Ethan Carter is carrying. His companion asks, "What exactly is written on this piece of mystical metal?" Ethan Carter answers with a serious expression. An address is engraved on it. It points to a strange place located 3,000 feet beneath the bottom of the northern abyss. His companion shouts in shock, "What? Beneath the abyss itself? What could possibly be down there?" Ethan Carter says something extremely ancient is hidden beneath it, something even older than human history, and it's calling me. His companion asks, "How do you know there's something down there?" Ethan Carter explains, "The rock layers here contain clear traces of human mystical energy, and they're extremely old, at least 100 years old. This isn't a natural crack. Someone dug this passage by hand all the way down." His companion falls into thought and says, "Who could have built such a massive tunnel beneath the abyss 100 years ago?" At that moment, Ethan Carter realized that for someone capable of stealing the talents of the strongest warriors from 3 great nations, digging a hole 3,000 feet deep would not have been a difficult task. It was actually the hideout of that mysterious thief from 100 years ago. As they continued forward, they discovered an ancient mystical formation that had completely collapsed. It looked as though no one had maintained it for decades. His companion asks, "Can you sense anything below us?" Ethan Carter closes his eyes and says, "I can sense a lamp burning below." His companion looks surprised. "A lamp?" Ethan Carter replies, "Yes, the flame has already gone out, but the wick is still there." After that, Ethan Carter completely destroyed the surveillance mark placed on him by the government's agency TN. His companion says nervously, "You've destroyed the government's tracker." Ethan Carter replies, "I'm not just destroying this mark, I'm deciding my own fate." Suddenly, Ethan Carter notices mysterious words carved on the walls of that ancient place. They were actually the final message left behind by the legendary thief from 100 years ago. The message read, "When the government agency TN declared me the cause of disaster and the 5 greatest powers in the world labeled me a villain, I became nothing more than a demon in the eyes of the entire world. But the truth is, I never wanted to steal the powers of those warriors from the 3 great nations. The Chaos Devourer, the power that devours everything, did it on its own. The power consumed everything like a starving wolf. I tried countless times to stop it, but it never listened to me." The message continued, "By the 3rd year, my stealing ability had grown so powerful that I began stealing not only people's mystical powers, but also their bodies, their blood, and even their fate. Once, I accidentally touched a man's hand, and I unknowingly stole every bit of love he had left for his wife. When that man returned home and looked at his wife, he couldn't remember anything. There were no feelings left in his eyes for her." The message then turned into a horrifying warning. It read, "The Chaos Devourer is not a heaven-gifted talent. It is a deadly parasite that lives inside your body. It continues to grow without end. The more you steal, the deeper it burrows into your bones and your soul. You believe that you are using this power. But in reality, this power is using you. When the government agency Tianyan found me, they told me they would help me control this power, but in return, I would have to become their servant, and I agreed. Later, I realized they were never trying to help me. They were turning me into a living weapon. When they surrounded me to kill me, it wasn't that 270 million people died in the battle. I was the one who personally sacrificed all 270 million of them with my own hands. In truth, that demonic power forced me to slaughter every single one of them. The more people it killed, the stronger it became. The more I tried to stop it, the more insane and excited it grew. In the end, after exhausting every option, I fled into this 3,000-foot pit and sealed its main entrance forever. With the little consciousness I had left, this was the only final thing I could do. This hunger has no limits. I stole countless things from the world, and in the end, this power stole my own ability to think and reason. If you were reading these words carved into the walls today, then it means you are exactly like me, and you will never escape this horrifying fate, unless you can find a way to return the powers you have stolen. After reading the entire message, Ethan Carter and his companion are left speechless. His companion says in a trembling voice, "So that means the mysterious thief didn't die at the hands of the government, nor did he die from loneliness. He was destroyed from the inside by this very power that devours everything. That power spread so deeply between his bones that it tore him apart from the inside, inch by inch." His companion asks, "How many years do you think he sat here alone in this darkness?" Ethan Carter says, "The government agency declared this place a completely restricted area 20 years ago. You managed to enter it, but by law, no one is allowed to come here." His companion asks, "Are you really planning to go to that forbidden southern region now? If you go there, you may never return. Don't you want to know why the government banned that place?" Ethan Carter clenches his fists. A new determination shines clearly in his eyes. He takes a deep breath and says, "Because the answer to every one of my questions is hidden only in that dangerous, forbidden region, Chin Cho, and I will find it."